we do not talk about the grief that comes with a relationship being over. I feel like you really have to grieve that person. And to me, it's so weird because you're grieving someone that is alive and you're really having to rewire yourself to just let it go, right? But anyway, studies show that when a close friendship ends or fades, your brain processes it just like I just said, like grief, because that's what it is. It's grief. What else is it? What else do we call it? It's grief. And that's why it hits so hard. Y'all gonna see me looking down because I do have my notes on my computer, of course. But anyways, it's like losing a person, right? It's losing a version of safety or your routines or your identity, honestly. When we find someone that we believe should be in our life, friendship, whatever, relationship, whatever, we really attach to those people, and sometimes we start to get codependent. And I think that's where things can get a little dangerous, that codependency. But anyways, that's why I think that's why when friendships or relationships, especially like relationships end, you see that those people end up like leveling up. And you like, they were a little chubby when they was in their relationship, but now that they out, they more focused on themselves. And I think that goes into like being codependent, right? You start to pick up each other's habits, whether they're good or bad, because that's the person that you hang out with the most. So yeah. But anyways, I think the hardest part is most friendships or relationships. I guess we'll talk about friendships. Most friendships don't end with a big argument. Sometimes it just ends with silence. Sometimes it just ends with disrespect. But anyways, we're going to talk about ways that you can know that your friendship is coming to an end, because a lot of times y'all be missing the signs. So I just want to put y'all up on some game. So you don't end up missing the signs. You don't want to do that, because then that's going to be more painful. Okay. But I'm gonna start with number one. Number one, they stop showing up emotionally. You talk to them about maybe something that they have done to you and they act like it's not important, or they don't make time to talk to you about that situation, or they go silent when you're texting, or they start texting you back 24 hours later. It used to be an hour or two later. That's fine. But 24 hours later, 48 hours later, you text in, you notice that they dry. You feel like you just pulling them, reaching. Stop how they're reaching. They trying to tell you they don't want to talk to you. So stop that reaching. They not curious about your life. You asking them questions about their life. They just answering the question. They're just trying to be nice. But they don't care about your life, because did they sit there and say, hey, what about you? How you doing? How your life? Is that like that for you? No, they didn't. So when they do that, they're not interested in you. Think about something you're interested in. You want to know about it, right? So do you think a person wants to know about you if they're not asking anything about you? They don't. So they stop showing up emotionally. They don't ask how you're doing unless it benefits them. So, those responses get real cold, real delayed. Because I don't know, even for me, like if I'm talking to someone like a friend, or probably maybe a person that wants to be my friend, and maybe I'm not that interested, I'm not prioritizing like responding back to them. I know that doesn't sound the best, but I'm just really not. And they just get the hint, especially when you're not friends. But I feel like with your friends, they should be able to tell you like, hey, this is why I'm doing this. But if they're not, they can't even give you that small little gesture. Run, save yourself. But anyways, you notice that you have to start editing yourself around them, meaning like you're very cautious of how you respond, basically to a point to where it's making you kind of step outside of who you are, because you're trying to protect them, or you trying to perform for them so that you don't mess up. We're not doing that. What the heck? So think about it. Like if you texting, or you thinking about texting and you hesitating, that's your nervous system trying to tell you something, like something is not safe. Something's not right. Because why are you hesitating to text a friend? This is your friend. What you hesitating for? But anyways, you reread the messages before sending them. You shouldn't be having to do all of that. Like you literally are prepping to text your friend. But that's your nervous system telling you, baby, something is wrong. Pay attention to your nervous system. I think a lot of times we don't do that. We don't do that. We're just kind of like, oh, I'm just rechecking. No, you're not rechecking. Pay attention to what that means. What happened in y'all's last interaction that makes you want to check over and over and over to make sure that your text message lands right? You know what I mean? You start wondering too much, honestly. But yeah, you just end up not feeling safe. You're second guessing simple messages. It's just too much. It's taking too much of your emotional capacity. So yeah, you start doing all that. Then I'll say the third thing. You notice that they are not prioritizing you, not texting you back, not making time for you. Maybe you tried to reach out and offer them like, oh, let's go out, let's go do this, let's go. And they not doing that. They're like, oh, I'm too tired. Oh, I'm too this. And then you see them hanging out with their other friends. They not interested. I'm going to tell you that right now. They not interested. And they're probably replacing you right now as we speak. I'm not going to lie. Can they really replace you? No, because nobody can be you like you. But they think they're replacing you. So let them. And I'll say this. Sometimes they have already detached from you and they didn't even have I can't even think of a word, but they couldn't even tell you like, hey, I don't want to be in this friendship no more. But that's why it's up to you not to put your life into their hands and you to pick up on game. Because honestly, forget the words that they saying to you. Look at them actions. They can't be like, oh yeah, we close friends. And then their actions is them not answering your text message or them not offering you to go anywhere or them not sitting down and talking to you about anything. That can't be it, sweetheart. No. Next, you're doing all of the work, the emotional work. Just say for instance, you and your friend got into a disagreement, right? Okay. In that disagreement, maybe that friend has accused you of something. And you say, you know what? You're right. You absolutely right. I apologize for that. And they don't feel like they've done anything wrong. You let them know, I kind of feel like this about this. You could have told me. Because maybe they've been holding this in for months. And you're like, you should have told me, and I would have been able to kind of move how I need to move, right? But here's the thing. I think it's good to hold your friends accountable, but you cannot expect your friends to put a puzzle piece together, and they can't expect you to do all the heavy lifting in that way. I think if you value a friendship, you should be able to speak to your friend directly without having them to figure out what's on your brain. That's unfair to your friendship. And to me, if a friend is doing that to you, that means that they do not care about you. You done tried to reach out. You done tried to express your feelings. You offer space. You even said goodbye clearly. Yet they never met you halfway. So no, absolutely not. We're not wasting our time. We're not about to get our nervous system upset about that. We letting go. Anyways, you feel more pain than peace from trying to let it go, or from letting it go. So I don't know. I guess maybe they're causing you to spiral emotionally, like daily, or even just seeing them just makes you cringe. That means that friendship needs to be over. I'm telling you, you're not gonna feel like that about people that need to be in your life. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong. It could also mean that there's unfinished business, but until that business is taken care of on both ends and it's mutual, you're going to have to let it go because it's going to drag you down. But anyways, friendship breakups or friendship sneak ups don't always come with closure, y'all. But your peace can be your closure. So you have to find ways to have peace with letting go. Peace with saying, okay, this was a nice friendship experience. And you know what? I did learn this from that person. So start to think about, you know what did I learn from this person? I'm sure they learned some things from me, but I also learned some things from this person. And I'm not going to sit here and ponder on what has happened, but I'm just going to accept it. And I'm going to say, you know what? I learned this. This was a great experience, but I have to let it go. And that's why it's important to let it go, especially for your growth, And letting go isn't petty. It's not a projection. It's sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself. In them, actually, because maybe if you let go, because people always notice who's doing the most work, who's doing the most emotional work. They know you're doing the most. But once you start pulling your power back and you get a bit silent, that's going to be very loud. And maybe to help them learn how to have better communication with their future friends. But as for you and yourself, because you're such a star, you're so amazing, you're such an amazing friend. It's people out there waiting to have an amazing friend like you. And don't get stuck on this is the only friendship that you can have that's this good, because this is just the beginning. It's so many other people in the world that will love to be in your space. So don't worry. Let it go. All right, y'all. That's all I got to say. Bye.